Hey everybody, Dr. Heldman here. Welcome back to Tech Talk Education. I want to still go down the road with Kali Linux. I want to teach you as much as I know about Kali Linux and more if possible. I'm constantly learning more things about Linux and Kali and cybersecurity things. So in this video, what we're going to talk about is a very good passive reconnaissance tool that's called nmap. And you'll need to be really super intimately familiar with this product if you want to get into cybersecurity, you want to work as in a security operations center or as a pen tester or something like that. So nmap's very cool, it's very useful, and I want to show you how to use it. Let's get started. So in front of you, I have Kali Linux running. I have it running behind a pfSense router, and I've done 2 or 3 movies on how to build out a ethical hacking laboratory or a pen testing laboratory, or if you say red team laboratory, using pfSense router, Kali Linux, and Metasploitable. But in this case, all I've got is I've got the pfSense router running and I've got Kali running, and I want to talk to you about nmap. It stands for Network Mapper and is a very, very cool tool. Comes with Kali Linux. First thing I'm going to do, because of a day, I come back in, maybe I only come into Kali once a week or something like that. I'm going to do a sudo apt update just to get the latest and greatest files updated so that Kali's up to date. This is a good sign here where it says git. If you don't have a network connection, it's not going to say git, and I forgot what it says, but it's not good. It's not the way around. It doesn't say error. It says something else. But anyway, if you get this word git here, you know that it's out there and it's getting the files off of Kali Rolling. The database is called Kali Rolling. The idea is that you are going to certain mirrors and you're grabbing the files that you need to just freshen up Kali Linux, anything that's been updated since the last time you ran it. There's also upgrade, and there's upgrade dist, and I don't typically do an upgrade, nor do an upgrade dist, because that's going to get me up on the latest and greatest, which may not be a stable version. So sudo apt update is great, works fine, and you can tell when it's all done, it's going to tell you I can be upgraded. This note here, I don't ever do this, I'm not worried about it. So I'll clear the screen here. All right, next thing, you want to look at ways to look at nmap and get help with nmap. So you can type in man nmap. Now man stands for the manual page. Most applications that you download, I'd say 95-98% of applications that you download have a man reference written for them, and what happens is it updates the man database. There's actually a database out there that keeps track of all of the different man references that are out there. So nmap has a man page, and I can hit spacebar to move down. I could use my scroll key to move down. So that's one way of getting help with nmap. It's a big product, and I'll do it quick to get out of the man page. You can also type in nmap tac help, and that will take you into a real quick little place where you can look at the switches that are involved with nmap. Now, speaking of switches, let's talk real quickly about that. So nmap has a couple of odd things that are going on here. One of the things that will happen is you'll have a switch like this, tac small s cap v, and what that's going to do is that's going to probe and get the service versions. So what does that mean? Well, Windows runs services. Services are little pieces of code that do some specific job for you. So Windows has services, Kali has services, they're called daemons. And what happens here is you're querying any of the services that are running, and you're getting their software version, which is enormously helpful. And in a later movie, I'll show you how to use that to your benefit. Also notice that lots of Linux versions have started going with tac version or tac whatever. So it could be that there's a tac definition and a tac definition. Also, you'll notice here that we have a time, tac cap t. This goes 0 through 5. The reason the timer is out there is because if you're hacking away at something like Metasploitable 2, it doesn't matter how quick you go. This thing can go really quick, and it'll find everything you're looking for in a pretty decent amount of time. However, if you're trying to go up against a production intrusion detection system, an IDS, or an intrusion prevention system, or a firewall, it could be that if you go hit it really rapidly, it's going to throw up a thing for the SOC analyst to see, some sort of a warning or an error or a flag that the SOC analyst can see, the Security Operations Center analysts, and it'll warn them and they'll stop you. So the reason the TAC-T switch is out there, you can set it to TAC-T0 or TAC-T1, and what it'll do is it'll back off, it'll wait. And the idea is to try to evade firewalls, IDSs, and IPSs. So that's the help screen. So I'll go down to the bottom here, clear the screen. Now let's try help TAC-H. Doesn't work. So we're gonna, and you're gonna see this in a lot of Linux products now. When you download something, whatever it is, the app, it may support TAC-H, which used to be help. The problem with that is TAC-H is used in other products for something else, for example. Not always, but TAC-TAC help will get you where you need to go. So typically, most Linux applications today support TAC-TAC help. The other thing that I recommend doing is I recommend running nmap in sudo. You don't always need to. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I type in nmap, and then I'm going to tell it to just do, let's see, let's put in a TAC-T, let's put in a TAC-T4. The default is T1, I think. And then let's tell it that we want to look at ports. I'm going to do ports 0 through 65535. And then I'm going to say scan me, there, .nmap.org. So nmap it's nmap.org that manages nmap. It's a great product. It's been around a long time. It's very feature rich. It's also very mature. So what this is saying is go as fast as you can, or pretty fast, on scanme.nmap.org. And I'm going to look at ports 0 through 65,535. How many ports are there in a system? These are software ports. There are 65,535. So what we're doing is to scan every port on the system to find out what is open. So let's run this scan and see how we do. And you'll find that nmap takes a little bit to go out and scan a host. It's not super slow, but it's also not super fast. And the concept here is you have to give it time. You want to give it time to be able to do this scan and repeat back to you what it found. So I'm going to put you on hold and come back when this scan is all done running. It's typically a couple of minutes. I'm a little worried that I might have freaked out nmap, so I think what I'm going to do is Control-C to stop this, clear the screen, and I'm just going to go with a different little port list. So let me do ports 0 through 100. Scanning all the ports is a big, long, honking thing, so let's see if we can get some information out of this now. Now, the 0 through 100 doesn't catch quite all of the ports that are commonly in use. What I would do is scan from 0 through 1000. You can see here the scan's finished. I'll clear that. I'll run the scan from 0 through 1000. There are some well-known ports above that, but this will get the majority of the ones that we're looking for. So scanme.nmap.org was created to allow you to scan. Is it okay if I'm doing passive reconnaissance? Will I get in trouble if I do this? You will not. What it's doing is just scanning to see what ports, what protocols there are, and what ports are open. Now, I will tell you that if you're going to do a cloud engagement, like you're going to be a pen tester and you're going to go up against, say, Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud, they have agreements that you have to enter into. You have to notify them, hey, I'm going to be scanning, but what I'm scanning is I'm not scanning your the Amazon infrastructure. What I'm doing is scanning the implementation that I have been contracted to do. It looks like I hit warning here, so I'm just going to get out of this. I will probably do another nmap movie to show you how you can do a little bit, how it really works, how you're going to really do like an actual capture. This movie's purpose is just to introduce you to the commands that are used in nmap. So I'm going to clear. Let's do a couple more things here. So I've got a time T4. And now I'm going to put in attack capital A. Nmap is all about the switches, and there are extensive numbers of switches. And I'm going to just keep this at ports 0 through 100. And so what you're doing here, by the way, well, I'll show that to you in a later video. What you're doing here is you can think of this A as being all. It's inclusive. So what it's going to do, it's going to scan for any open ports. It's going to scan for the operating system that's running on the computer, and it's going to implement what is called the nmap script engine. It's lovingly known as NSE, and it's going to execute some common scripts. There are lots and lots, dozens and hundreds of nmap scripts. They can be written by others. They're written by nmap. And you can snap those in and use those if you're looking for certain information. So it's worth your while to go out and Google nmap scripts or NSE scripts or something like that. And they describe all of the scripts that come with nmap. There's a lot of them. So also, I want to write this to a file. So I want to do attack O cap in. And I want to say, well, my file is going to be called initialscan.txt, for example. Let's take these commands apart. So nmap is your command, and I'm going to go ahead and run this as sudo now. I have found that the longer the command structure gets, you can get away with a basic scan just using your native rights as a user. But if you want to do anything pretty dramatic, what you have to do is usually typically include sudo in there so you're running as root. So we're saying sudo run as root. Nmap is the command. TAC A is the all switch. I think of it as all. And it's doing a variety of things for you all in one fell swoop. We're telling it that we're going to go with a time of 4. If you didn't introduce this, it would default to time of 1. And then the ports are 0 through 100. We're writing this thing out to a normal file. N stands for normal. O stands for output. So we're saying that we want to output this to a normal file called initscan.txt, and then we're hitting scanme.org. Now there are 4 types of files, so that's something we'll catch in a different movie just so you know how that works. So now what it's doing is it's doing quite a bit more work here, and it's out there running against scanme.nmap.org, and the whole point with this is to just prove that it does work, and it's absolutely a marvelous tool. But the problem with nmap isn't learning how to run the tool. It's very big. There's a lot to it. I'm not telling you that it's not a big product to learn, because it is. What I am telling you is that interpreting the results of the scan is actually bigger. So that's pretty interesting. Now I'm going to pause this real quick because I want to show you one more thing that I forgot to include. I'm going to do a Control-C to kill this scan, clear the screen. And I forgot a switch that I wanted to show you about, and it is TAC-V. This stands for verbose. In other words, what it's doing is telling me everything that's going on. Verbose means, you certainly run across people like this before. They explain and explain and explain and explain, and you're like, okay, stop talking. Verbose is that way. What it's going to do is tell you everything that's going on as it's doing what it's doing. I normally always turn verbose on. These switches can be in any order. You might run into an issue where one thing has to happen after another sometimes, but it's really rare with nmap, so I wouldn't worry about the placement of the switches. There we go. Now that's what verbose looks like. And so it's telling you what it's doing here, and it's going through and discovering open port 22. You can see very, very cool stuff. So it's doing a lot of good things here. Now, let's talk about this stealth scan here. This is really cool, and this is part of the TAC-A stuff. When you go and you connect to a computer, you want to connect to a server somewhere, a website or whatever, you do what's called the 3-way handshake, and these are all done with packets. So if you can think about it, you send a signal to the computer, and you're like, computer, I want to connect with you because I want to do some sort of business. That is a synchronized request, and it's called a SYN. It's a SYN packet. The computer says, oh, okay, yeah, you can do that. So it sends me back what's called an acknowledgement. It's called an ACK. And then I need to ACK the ACK. So I acknowledge the server's acknowledgement. That's the three-way handshake. And now we're going, and we're running. And when we're doing a SYN stealth scan here, what's happening is we are saying, you know what? I'm just going to request the SYN, but I'm going to back off. I'm not going to respond to any ACKs. And it's called a stealth scan because the machine that's responding to you cannot discover you. They don't know who you are. That's not really true. There are some pretty sophisticated tools out there now. And there are other ways of doing a SYN stealth scan above and beyond this. So it's not just as simple as that. But you should be aware of the three-way handshake. And what nmap is trying to do here is it's trying to do a stealth scan here. So I'm going to put you on hold while this thing finishes running. Now you can see that it's done doing some stuff here. It did what's called a trace route. What trace route does is it finds the path from me to the computer that I'm trying to connect to. And so it has this whole list of different IP addresses, router addresses that it gets to. And traceroute is really handy for finding a path that you took to get to a certain website or server, whatever the case might be. Also it's said that it's completed a service scan here, and it's trying to do OS detection. If I do an LS here, you'll see that init scan.txt is sitting out there. That's because of that TAC ON switch. This is really great because if you're creating cases, you know, you're a penetration tester, you're a blue team, red team, you are, say, working in a SOC, and you've got a case that you're looking at, you're going to create a folder for yourself where you're going to keep that case, and part of the case would be the initial scan. So that's why that's useful. And you can always cat it. So I can say cat init under scan.txt, and it'll output it for me. And then I can scroll up through there and look at it. Now let's look at this output here real quick. So what it's telling you, it gives you the command that it did. That's really cool. And I'll go down a little bit. And it says that it found that nmap was also responding on an IPv6 address, which is very cool. Here's its IPv4 address. Here's its IPv6 address. This is very juicy information because I don't need to worry about hitting a host by a name and getting DNS involved. What I can do now is I can begin working on the IP addresses instead. And then it shows that there's 94 filtered TCP ports, and it shows you a few of them. Port 14 is closed. Port 22, which is SSH, is open. That's really cool. And here's the version info. So SSH is a service. And on Kali, the service is called OpenSSH, and in this case on nmap. And it's telling you that it's OpenSSH version 6.6.1 P1. It's also telling you that this server is running Ubuntu. So that's pretty cool. I know a lot of stuff now, and SSH is totally hackable. Now, when you see these bars to the side, what you're looking at is an NSE script that is executing, in this case SSH host key. So it's querying for the host keys on SSH. It found a DSA key, an RSA key, an ECDSA key, and an ED25519 key. And that would be interesting to you if you wanted to try and hack these hashes and see what's going on there, what's happening there. Some other ports that are open. Port 80 open. Oh my gosh, that's not good. That's a very bad thing. It's actually not bad because now what we do is we take you in at port 80, we move you to HTTPS, maybe you go back to 80 for some work and then come back. It just depends on the way that the web server was built. This is a WAP, so it's saying it's accessing a wireless access protocol. And so we see some other stuff here. So now it comes in and says, okay, I've got the OS service detection performed. I've got the results, and you can go look at the results, and everything's done. Well, and then it shows you the trace route. So it went from me out to my home router, and then it went to here. This is some sort of a router at 45.33.32.156, and it didn't show the steps in between, but it is telling you that it's using port 53, which is DNS. Okay, that's not, there's a lot to nmap. This is just a basic overview of nmap, but I think that you'll find it really helpful, especially as you're studying for various CompTIA cybersecurity exams, the GIAC exams, things like that. This is useful stuff. nmap is one of your passive recon tools that you'll use over and over again. You know what? If you like this movie, I love it that you guys are watching these movies. Thank you. I'm trying to grow the channel. And if you subscribe to it and you like it, give it a thumbs up. Maybe tell your friends about it, because I'm trying to grow the channel. That would be super helpful. And also, if you want to leave comments, that's totally fine. You guys are really good about leaving me very nice comments. Thank you very much. And you know what? Happy Thanksgiving, and I will talk to you in the next video.